Welcome back, everyone, once again to a new installment of the Screenplay Rewind podcast. I'm Jeff.
I'm Ron.
Oh, man. So, if the recording gets immediately shut off at some point, I just want to let everyone know we've been having some like crazy gusts of wind outside. So, if the podcast gets canceled and that guy who says that no one should listen to us ever speak again gets what he wants. So,
Are you getting all the lightning and thunder that we're getting?
So far, all I've seen is the crazy amount of wind outside, but it's probably not far off.
My watch and phone keep telling me that the rain is going to stop soon, and I'm pretty sure it hasn't rained yet, but we're getting all the thunder and stuff. We had a pretty good light show last night. It never rained or anything, but it was just north of us, just north of us. So it was lighting up the yard pretty good.
The giant tree that is in front of my apartment was shaking like a goddamn maraca last night. Like the wind has just been crazy. I don't know if it's just like specifically kind of like where I live. It's kind of like a wind tunnel with the way the streets are designed or something. I don't know, but like the fucking wind is crazy sometimes.
What's weird is it just kept going do 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 do.
Yeah.
Yep, just like that. And then it fell on my car.
Just like that. Yeah.
I had a friend I went to school with, by the way, one time. He was late to school because his car got totaled. And we were like, what happened? And he said, a tree leapt in front of his car. And we're like, so you hit a tree? He's like, no, the tree hit me. I'm like, no, you hit a tree. He's like, no, I was driving down the road and the tree fell over on top of my car while I was driving down the road. The tree hit me.
The important question, was the tree insured?
A driver should know better. The inch went to war on his car.
We have decided you are not an orc.
At least they didn't release the river. Oh, man.
Oh, my goodness. How's it been going, dude?
Pretty good. Saw Deadpool and Wolverine again.
Nice. Yeah, my phone has been nonstop Deadpool 3 quotes for the last 2 days, so I believe it. At this point, I think you'd just be better off to just Control A on the quotes page and then just copy that entire fucking page into my text and just get it all done in one fell swoop.
There's one I'm looking for because I can't remember exactly how it goes, but I'll get there. It'll be on Disney Plus. I'll get it memorized.
How was it the second viewing?
It's so on the second viewing, it's interesting because the Deadpool jokes don't land as hard because I've seen them. I know what to expect. Wolverine lands a little harder. I think.
Yeah, he does.
There's more to Hugh Jackman's performance the second time round you didn't notice because, I mean, Deadpool's jumping in front of your face and shaking his ass. So
the movie's subtitle could be like sensory overload.
It really is. It really is sensory overload. It might be because I watched Logan the night before going to see it, but I don't know. There was just Hugh Jackman's performance stood out a lot more the second time.
It's pretty impressive that he's still able to have like a pretty in-depth performance in something that is just like an outlet for cameos and constant jokes and dog pool. You know,
I was telling Chris, it's also amazing how just outright fucking mean he is in this movie. And well, not this movie, but the movie we covered last time. How outright mean he is. But by all accounts, he's like the sweetest, nicest guy that ever lived.
Right.
It always blows my mind. If you told me he was a dick, I could buy that easier because he's such an asshole in this movie.
Yeah, he really is.
It's amazing.
Oh man. Yeah, I was curious how well it would hold up because a big part of that movie too is the surprises. So I'm glad to hear that it still held up pretty well, even though the jokes already and the cameos are coming and everything.
Well, the strong point of all three Deadpool movies, I think, which by the way we had 1 and 3, we need to get 2 on here.
Yeah.
I think the strong point of all three Deadpool movies really lies in the story itself because they're all fairly relatable, fairly everyman-ish, but with a cartoon character, right? So even if the jokes aren't landing as hard, you still get into the story and you're still rooting for the hero. I mean, it's it saved the girl in the first one, it saved the kid in the second one, and it saved everyone you care about. Fuck the world. That's the thing about Deadpool 3 that's interesting. He doesn't really care about his world or his universe ending. It's my world is these 9 people, and I don't know how to save them, but you do. And it's literally a buddy cop movie of him trying to find anyone that will help him, and there's only one person he can think of.
I really liked the kind of midlife crisis angle of it as well.
Yeah, that was really
I
good.
was not expecting that as a kind of subplot.
Yeah, all of
for
them have something relatable like that going on, so
yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah. But we're here to talk about a movie where Chris Evans shares an equally horrible fate as Deadpool 3. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Chris Evans has been on here, what, 3 times now?
Chris Evans was in Knives Out, The Losers, Deadpool 3, and now Sunshine. So that's 4.
So that's 4.
And potentially other. This is like what, 105? Is that what this episode is?
Yes, this is episode 105.
There might be even more Chris Evans that I can't remember because we're at the point now where we've done so many movies. When I come up with an idea, I quickly fact check to make sure we didn't already cover it or have it, chosen for a friends and family thing. Because I just can't fucking keep track.
Yeah, I keep that IMDB list going because I'm one of the madmen that has a IMDB account.
Yeah, I think so. Did Chris Evans overtake Nick Cage?
I don't know.
I think he might have because what do we had Nick Cage? So we had Willy's Wonderland.
Willy.
We had The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah, we did.
There's got to be other stuff we've had Nick Cage on, right?
Let's see. I'm scrolling through the list real quick. Nick
Cage. So far we've got 2 for Nick Cage. We've got 4 for Chris Evans.
I was pretty late in the podcast when we had the first one we had him in was Willy's Wonderland at number 27. So we've been doing the podcast for a year before we had him on.
Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yeah, so that's 3.
So that's 3. Gripping podcast entertainment,
right,
for everyone at home. You're welcome. Drive Angry. They're tied.
God, that was my pick too.
I think they are each tied at 4.
Yeah, so 4-4. Is that the most? Is 4?
That's got to be the most. I don't think anyone else has had that many appearances. So they're both officially on the Mount Rushmore for Screenplay Rewind just by default because they've been on there tied for the most times. Man.
Cillian Murphy has been on here too. We had him in Free Fire.
Free Fire's so good.
Free Fire's so good. Chris hated it, but it's so good.
I love looking at the cast of Sunshine and just realizing how much this cast would cost now to make. And this is like an independent horror movie essentially made back then.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's fucking nuts. But before we talk about our review of Sunshine, I think we have a question from the man, the myth, the legend, the goat.
Oh boy, the ever enigmatic intern Bobby. He asked a question that I kind of hurt myself thinking about over the last couple hours because he asked it like almost 2 weeks ago, but I only saw it a couple hours ago. Who is a superhero that deserves their own movie? I'll tell you right now, that list is probably 1 million names long. But the problem with, so I was going to throw a couple out. My problem is they're DC, and I don't want anyone to try this. I just want them to leave them where they are until, we turn a corner somewhere.
It might be happening. James Gunn is kind of overseeing everything now.
I don't know. There's some controversy about those images he's been releasing, and I wish he would stop fucking releasing images. Let us see the movie. Stop giving us a PowerPoint presentation over it.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to see it like a teaser trailer because I think it's gonna look pretty cool in motion. I think if you probably took as a counterpoint to people like complaining about the way the Superman movie looks in images from the set, there probably could have been some images taken from the first Guardians movie out of context and from the set that made it look like garbage. But in motion, the movie is good,
So, someone I listened to was talking about how they have a lot of problems with the images that were coming out, but he understands that he's seeing out of context images, but he still places that blame on James Gunn because he's the one that is
releasing all the
images and predisposing his opinion to the images. So
yeah,
he has a really bad feeling that even if the movie is good, it might not do super great, or at least not be super great among the fans, because a lot of the fans had the same opinion he does, which they don't like that this wasn't from the set. This was a promotional image of, in the background, like Metropolis is being destroyed and he's sitting at home either putting on his boots or taking off his boots. No one's quite sure in the Superman costume, and that was how they unveiled the Superman costume. And they're like, okay, first off, he can get dressed in the blink of an eye. Second off, how many people are fucking dying while he's lounging at home? Like, oh boy, my dogs are tired. Like,
I gotta get my Dr. Scholl's.
yeah. So, silly me, grabbed the wrong boots. Like, and that one I kind of get. It's weird, right?
It is weird, but it's also just like these people are over analyzing the holy fuck out of these images. Just wait for the fucking trailer, please.
And I agree with you on that, but at the same time, I think that's DC Warner Brothers' fault also, because I think they're giving them reason to be scared and giving them reason to overanalyze everything. So
I think it's gonna end up being fine at the very least, which is an upgrade for the way their movies. Like they couldn't even make a good fucking Wonder Woman sequel, dude. That sequel for Wonder Woman was hot fucking garbage. So it's like if like the worst James Gunn movie is better than what like Blue Beetle and like the shit they've been turning out the last few years, So it's like what? Just fucking wait for a trailer. If the movie's bad, shocker, we got a bad DC movie. We should be fucking used to that by now. So who fucking cares,
Yeah, and what's funny is you and I we reviewed that movie on this podcast, and I think you and I were much kinder to it then than we would each be now. I think you and I have soured on it more as time has gone on.
I already didn't like it. Like I think we were pretty critical about it.
I was disappointed. You were disappointed to the point of almost being angry during that review, if I recall.
Yeah.
I think now you are angry, and I think I'm coming to your side.
I mean, just think back. Like, how do you fumble a Wonder Woman sequel that bad when that first movie is really good?
That first movie is
and it's
so
all
good.
The same people. Like, what the fuck?
Well, I mean, we talked about it then, but if you recall, Patty Jenkins wanted more control, and they gave it to her, and that's what she gave us.
They also, I think, because of the success of the first one, like rushed the shit out of the script, and it showed.
Yeah,
because they wanted the movie to be out in like 2 years. Was it like a 2-year gap, and then the sequel came out instead of like the usual like 3?
Yeah,
something like that would have. I can't remember.
I guess
but yeah,
it
was rushed.
The iron
and it was
hot, but I don't understand. That iron was never gonna cool. Everybody loved that first movie.
Yeah, just wait and then make sure the movie is good.
Yeah,
and then you don't like that. That second movie was so bad it killed their franchise. And it's just like y'all got to learn that you can read the script and tell in advance that the shit isn't ready for prime time. Like, put it back in the oven, let it cook a little bit more, and then it's not going to be hot garbage that immediately kills the one IP they had going for them.
You say that, but then you realize that we're the only ones that lost because it made a ton of money riding off the coattails of the first one, and that's all they care about.
I thought the second one was like kind of like a letdown compared to the first one. I'll check.
Yeah, double check that. I remember it doing well, and just everybody hating it. But they don't care because they're laughing all the way to the bank. I thought it did pretty good. While you're looking that up, so So the one that I think should get another chance sometime in the future is still want another Constantine movie.
Oh my goodness. All right, you want to hear Ron?
Oh no.
This is a fucking yikes. You would you like to know
I'm
the
wrong, I
worldwide would you like to know the worldwide gross, easy for me to say, for the first movie?
Wasn't it like 1.2 billion or something?
Okay, you're not far. It was 822 million.
Oh, okay, and just
So
400,000 off, not that far.
In the ballpark of $1 billion though.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman 1984 worldwide $169 million.
Oh my god, that's all it did?
Yeah, now granted,
That movie had to have a $250 million budget.
didn't they do like a simultaneous release with HBO Max for this?
They did, which is how I watched it.
So it did kind of get fucked because of the pandemic, but also that movie was so shit, it was not going to do half as much as the first movie, just because it was not going to, because like what made the first movie
it made like what? 12% of what the first movie made, something like that? Just roughly?
So 169 divided by 822, about 20%.
20%.
Yeah. So like, what made the first movie so successful is that it was legitimately good. So people were going back and watching it multiple times. There wasn't a single person in the universe going back to watch that second movie a second time. I can fucking tell you that much. Oh man.
Yeah, we reviewed it for the show, which means our first and only viewing was for this podcast. They didn't even get 2 out of us.
Yeah, I'm not watching that shit again.
I might have to someday with the kids when they get older, but it won't be willingly.
I would just show them the first movie and be like, yeah, it's the craziest thing. It made almost $1 billion and they never made a sequel.
And they never made another one. Yeah, I think Constantine should get another shot.
Yeah, I'm always down for more Constantine
especially
stuff. Constantine is just, especially Matt Ryan. Like Constantine is just such a cool fucking character, and I think they're doing more with him in the near future, because I think they are planning on doing more kind of Justice League Dark related stuff.
If they can get their shit together, I want a Justice League Dark where you bring in like Zatanna and you bring in Matt Ryan as Constantine. Fucking, if you're not gonna give me Del Toro's Swamp Thing, then give him to me in a Justice League Dark. And they don't need to be fucking...
Wasn't Del Toro associated with Justice League Dark for a while too? And then it like fell through or something. I don't know, but
something.
I want to see. I am much more intrigued and excited by the idea of Justice League Dark stuff than I am by new Superman, new Batman, new Wonder Woman. But
yeah, so that's my cheat, because it would be it's a different version of those characters. The one that I really want to see someone do something interesting with that they won't. Either they'll fuck it up, or he would just be like a supporting role in a movie, more likely. I've always been kind of intrigued by The Question, Jeff.
That was gonna be my answer. You fuck. I want to see a hardcore noir film that is like with the like the gritty narration, with like that classic noir like dialogue. I want like a noir as fuck Question movie.
And I mean, what better way to compete with Marvel's Spider-Man noir thing coming up than to have The Question?
Yeah.
Fuck, make it Nick Cage too. I don't care.
Dude, if Nick Cage was both The Question
and Nick Cage was The Question
and Spider-Man Noir, and I watched both, and nobody would fucking care, because yes.
Oh god.
Yeah, The Question was the one that immediately came to my mind.
Yeah. He came to mind. You know, he would just be like in 1 or 2 scenes. They would go to him for information and leave. Give me like a 6-part miniseries, black and white, noir.
I'll give a different one that was kind of in the running to happen for a long time ago, before Batman Begins happened, but a Batman Beyond thing. I think people are ready. Like, I think if Batman Beyond was made now, when they could feasibly have some of those special effects happen, and they wouldn't, be like about $1 billion production budget like it would have been 20 years ago, I think Batman Beyond could work if it was made by good people.
Man, there's nothing I'm afraid of more than them attempting Batman Beyond right now. I
mean, I meant more kind of like in the future.
Yeah.
Like, because I think eventually.
You think they get Michael Keaton for Old Man Wayne?
Well, they were talking about doing that if the Flash movie had done well. There was talk of doing a Batman Beyond movie and then having Michael Keaton be older Bruce Wayne. And then the Flash movie was a complete debacle and disaster. So fuck us,
Dude,
I guess. No more Batman Beyond
It's a movie
ideas.
in name only.
It's pretty bad.
It belongs in the trash heap. The TVA needs to take over that flat.
It needs to be sent to the Goliath zone.
Yeah, Eliath.
Or Eliath, yeah.
Eliath from Loki season 1 episode 5. Oh god.
Oh fuck. Yeah, I like how the question was
Both of ours.
one of the most obscure fucking characters in the DC universe is the one that we picked.
Yeah, just
just as a side thing, I've talked about this before. It's not a movie, but I talked before to answer a question a while back. I want a BPRD HBO series, and that is the like Supernatural, FBI, and Hellboy.
okay.
Like I want a BPRD HBO series so bad. I don't want Hellboy. I don't want more Hellboy movies. Great that I'll probably watch that new one because it's like a horror movie, and I'm down with Hellboy horror stuff. But I want just a fucking BPRD, super well written, like get like the fucking Chernobyl Last of Us guy to like write me BPRD shit, and it's spooky sometimes. You can have like different tones, different character groupings. You can have like Hellboy pop in from time to time. You could have Abe Sapien pop in. Like they can do like one-offs every now and then, but man, I would love a BPRD show.
like a Torchwood style show.
Yeah. But like that's the thing. It's like they keep rebooting Hellboy, and I think the more interesting angle at this point, because they tend to keep being poorly received when they try to relaunch Hellboy, is you just use the fucking BPRD, man,
Yeah.
and make it a show. It works so much better as a show. It's like you said, it's literally fucking Torchwood. They do X-Files cases of the week.
That's kind of in right now too, with the popularity of like Control in the video game world, and we've had 2 or 3 shows like that recently.
Yeah.
Right? In recent years, like we've had X-Files way back when in like the 90s and stuff. We had goddamn, I hear every week from a podcaster I listen to that not enough people watched it. Fringe. Is it Fringe?
Oh yeah. Fringe was pretty good. I watched I think the first season.
Yeah, so I mean, it would fit like right in. Like pop culture is kind of all over that stuff right now. We have that. Is it a Stephen King novel that got turned into a show, or supposed to be turned into a show that's kind of like that also?
Yeah, there was. It was like a hodgepodge of various Stephen King characters and like Stephen King concepts. Let's see. It wasn't. So The Outsider was one of his, but it wasn't the collage kind of show. What was that fucking show? Bernardin actually wrote on it.
The Institute?
No.
Oh, that's what I was thinking of.
What was the Steve? It was on. I think it was on Castle Rock. That's what it was. It was Castle Rock.
I don't know that one. But I know the Institute is kind of like I believe it's supposed to be kind of like a Control type situation.
Oh, like more like directly kind of similar to it.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I believe. I don't know. Another one that would be good that I just thought of. Now I always get these 2 characters confused. One's a villain and one's a hero. Which one did Pierce Brosnan play? It's either Dr. Fate or Dr. Destiny.
Dr. Fate.
Dr. Destiny's the sleep guy, right?
Yes.
Long boss. Because there's a whole Justice League episode where like Batman's trying to stay awake, right?
Yep.
And that one's Destiny.
Yes.
So you got 2 words that basically mean the same thing, both with
Dude.
doctor in front of them. So I always get them mixed up.
Yeah.
But
The DC universe has some really stupid fucking names for characters.
so I told you years before they made that movie that Pierce Brosnan would be a good Fate. And they put him in a movie. I would like to have him have his own Doctor Strange movie if they could do it right. You know?
Did anyone what was
Black Adam?
Yeah, did anyone actually watch that movie?
I don't
Is
think
it any
so.
good at all? I've never heard a single person's opinion because I don't know anybody that actually watched it.
The Ramble podcast reviewed it. That's where I heard a review of it, and that's how I know the end credit scene. But I've never heard anyone like it, and I've heard very few people have watched it. I was interested
Yeah.
in it. I still want to watch it at some point. It's not very high on my list.
Yeah.
I liked the trailer a lot. It's got a real strong trailer.
Another character that I think hasn't been portrayed that well that has had multiple like just fantastic comic runs that would actually adapt pretty well into like shows or movies is Dick Grayson. Is a wonderful character.
I would be really
have...
afraid of a Nightwing movie or something right now. But
Oh, I mean, like, yeah, but we're talking like we're talking like hypothetically like what we would want, like in a perfect universe where it'd be good. I would love a Nightwing.
I still want the fight
project.
choreographer from the Raid to do a Nightwing movie.
Dude, oh man.
Could you imagine if the fight choreography was like the Raid? But
yes, please.
It wasn't dark and grim. It was lighthearted Dick Grayson. But he's like fucking popping people's elbows out of their skin and telling jokes. It'd be great.
I'd also love a like a TV show adaptation of oh god, was it Batman the Black Mirror? Yeah, Batman the Black Mirror was a comic storyline a few years before Scott Snyder was the main guy writing New 52, where Batman was completely missing to where not even like Alfred and like Dick Grayson like knew where he'd gone. And you know, they have Nightwing step in to pretty much play Batman for a while, and it's like he's hunting down like a serial killer mystery. Super cool.
Yeah, you've told me about that. I downloaded the comic once and then never got around to it.
You should check it out. It's also got some fucking gorgeous covers. I'll send you like the main original cover. It's such a good one.
But yeah, I was so furious that this iteration of what DC is doing brought in Pierce Brosnan as Fate because, like, to me, that's perfect. Like, that is perfect casting, but there's no way they got that character right.
Well, he's probably in the movie for all of 5 fucking minutes because, like, they have The Rock playing Black Adam, so he's probably on screen 99% of the
Apparently, he has
time.
one fight scene, and apparently it makes 0 sense what he does in it. So apparently they did not use him well.
Awesome.
Again, that's somebody else's opinion. I've never seen the movie, but I've heard about it. But I still want to see it at some point. Like I said, it's just not high on my list.
Which means you'll never watch it.
Which means I will never get around to it.
Because every single day there are 500 new things to watch, read, play, listen to, etc.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's kind of bullshit. Too much fucking content, man. You remember back in the 90s when you would just watch whatever was on the TV because it was on the TV?
Because we were starved for content? Yeah.
Simpler times, man. Now I pull up Netflix or HBO Max and I can't find a single thing to watch because there's 400,000 things to watch. And my brain is just like, you know what? I'm just going to sit here and stare at the fucking wall because I can't pick something to watch.
So, no joke. I will just get like overload looking for something to watch and then just go back to like Mythbusters or like, you know what? And just go turn on like my PlayStation or something instead. And because it's too much. Like there's too much anxiety in picking something to watch.
Yeah, I think there's even like a term. It's like choice paralysis. I think it's like a
choice
term
paralysis
for it.
is the term.
But
I've heard for it.
The thing that I often fall back on is just random YouTube videos because YouTube is like the ADHD machine.
Yes.
You don't feel like you're obligated to pay attention. I can throw on like a Lobos Jr. stream.
I've been watching him. Too.
I've been watching him try to kill Consort for like 3 hours on the stream of his, and I just have it on in the background. Yeah, I've had that fucking Consort boss theme music stuck in my head for 3 days now, but it's just so much easier to just throw on a YouTube thing in the background than it is to start up a new show or something.
So what supplanted that for me is the Madonna's Like a Prayer, the choir version from the end of Deadpool 3.
It's pretty good.
I have that stuck in my head now instead of the Consort theme.
I think you just got that stuck in my head to replace the consort theme. Thinking about it.
Of course, the visuals help too.
I actually did start something.
What?
I started a new show. I started the new Amazon Batman cartoon that is a spiritual successor to the animated series.
Yeah,
Cape Crusader.
That's why my mind just blanked out on his name.
Bruce Timm.
Bruce Timm.
Have you seen the fucking production crew for that show, by the way?
No.
Bruce Timm.
Uh-huh.
J.J. Abrams.
Oh.
Matt Reeves.
Oh.
And Ed Brubaker are the executive producers for that show. And it's fucking good. I watched the first episode. It's pretty good.
I've heard the Batman voice will bother you for the first episode or two, and then after that it just blends in and you forget about it.
Yeah, I kind of it's so my brain automatically fights any non-Kevin Conroy voicing
And
because it's built into my DNA.
The person I heard that from confessed that same bias.
Exactly. So but obviously now, you have to kind of like disassociate from that in order to enjoy it. And I think he does a pretty good job. I also like that actor a lot. The actor was in the Legion show as a supporting character that I liked. He's a pretty good actor, and I think he does a pretty good job. It's just your brain, if you are someone that grew up with that 90s cartoon, now has fucking white blood cells.
Yeah.
That if you hear a non-Kevin Conroy Batman voice, you fucking attack that shit and hate it, even though they're doing a fine job.
Yeah, if I read a comic book, Kevin Conroy is the voice I hear in my head.
Absolutely. Like, him and Mark Hamill own those characters.
Sometimes Kevin Conroy narrates my life in my head. No.
My second favorite Batman voice is Bruce Greenwood. That's one that he's so good at it. My brain, he's actually like gone past my brain actively fighting it, and I just love him so much as Batman.
I have some of those animated Batman movies on my short list, and Bruce Greenwood voices Batman in those.
He's so good.
So we're gonna have him on the podcast eventually.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Batman's costume is like more like the 1940s design. He's even got the gloves. I don't know.
I think he pretty much has like a 1-to-1 version of Detective Comics 27, like his very first costume.
How does it look in motion? I've only seen the one screen grab of the title of him on top of the building.
It's a bit weird at first, but like once you watch it, I didn't
like it when I saw it. I'm not gonna judge the whole cartoon based on it, but I didn't. When I saw it, I was like, the ears are pointing away, and he's got the weird gloves with the flare on the end of the glove, and
it's his like literal like first suit from Detective Comics, which is it's kind of cool. Like we haven't seen that much of a throwback. It's like the cartoons a lot of the time will have kind of like an element of the kind of noir Batman stuff, like especially the animated series has a lot of kind of noir stuff to it, but the Cape Crusader show is very like noir with it, and it's very 1930s, which is kind of cool. I've been digging it so far. I just got to watch some more of it.
Cool. Yeah, I don't have Amazon Prime, so it'll be a while.
Yeah, probably get. Yeah, I'm probably giving my login to it.
Ooh.
Because it's worth, and it's only like 10 episodes. Like we could even pick it for like the fucking show at some point, and you'd watch like 10-20 minute episodes in an afternoon, So it's like it's basically just like watching a movie
like
at that point.
hours.
Yeah. I think we had some pretty good suggestions though. I really want to see the question done correctly, like we talked about.
Oh man, it would be so cool.
It'd be so cool.
I don't know what you do, but in the hands of someone talented, it doesn't matter. You know who I think could probably do him justice is Drew Goddard.
Yeah, I'd totally watch that.
I give it a vibe, kind of like Bad Times at El Royale. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, John Hamm as the question.
I was just about to say.
Holy shit! Give me that movie. I was
thinking about John Hamm's voice coming out of no face.
His voice for that narration, that like classic noir narration they could do for it.
We solved the question.
You give me that fucking movie right now. Give me that movie right fucking now. Oh my goodness, be so good.
Hey, speaking of give us a movie, you gave us a movie, Jeff.
No, I think we're done talking for the day. We're just gonna call it at the Q&A section.
Looked over, concerned about the time. I was like, thank God it's only been 34 minutes. It feels like we've been talking for an hour.
Hey, so I'm just gonna quickly say, the last few weeks, have discovered that COVID brain is absolutely a thing.
No, it absolutely is.
Because I have moments where I look back on something. Usually I don't notice it happening in the moment, but I will look back like on a previous day and just wonder what the fuck just happened. Like what did I spend my evening doing last night?
That fog
it's
will
crazy.
last for like a month.
It's crazy, dude. I remember the day after our Deadpool 3 recording, like half the shit I wanted to talk about for the movie, and I was like, fuck, man.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It sucks because you don't notice it. You can't correct it because you don't notice it fucking happening until like it's like you literally lose time. It's fucking weird, and I don't like it. So if it just seems like I'm rambling even more than I usually do, it's because of that, and I apologize.
Yeah, I found after I had COVID, each time I had COVID too, I had issues focusing on one thing. I would start like 4 different things going and switch between them. I couldn't stay with one thing till it was done.
And you already have ADHD, so when you had that plus COVID brain, you went like fucking like Super Saiyan Blue with your ADHD.
Oh my god, dude, it was berserk.
So did you officially like test for COVID, or was it just when you guys like think that you guys had it?
So
Because I remember you having a moment like early on in the pandemic where like you think you had it. I didn't know if that was what you were referring to.
yeah, we had it early on in the pandemic. We've had it probably a total of like 3 times that we know of. The weird thing is, I think only one time Chris and I tested positive using the test correctly. If we swabbed our throat, which I tell you not to do, it tested positive every time. But only one time, just swab on the nose, did it ever test positive. And then there's been the weird offshoots recently. So, like, Chris isn't completely sure she hasn't had it recently because she had like some of the symptoms, but like it wasn't that bad. It didn't like knock her on her ass, but it wasn't like a cold or like the flu. It very specifically had certain, like, you know, the numbness in the hands and stuff. Like it had a lot of aspects of COVID, but never tested positive and was over it within a few days. And there's supposed to be a really like COVID light version going around. So
yeah, I think I had it a couple of years ago, but didn't officially test positive, and then we officially had it, you know, like a month and a half ago now.
So
and yeah, shit sucks.
You know, like you're aware that we gave up on trying to fight it a long time ago because the kids are in school and there's just
there's nothing you can do.
She has to go to work and they have to go to school. There's no hiding from it. So
even pretty much the CDC gave up on it. Like they don't even tell you to like isolate now, which is crazy to me. I think you should still isolate if you're sick, just for common courtesy's, you know, sake. But
if you're a decent human being, you do that even if you have the goddamn cold, you know.
Yeah, but like it's just wild that it, you know, it did end up just becoming a thing you have to deal with.
Yeah,
you know, it sucks, but it's gonna happen. At least we have like the, you know, like the vaccines and like boosters to kind of like lessen the severity of the symptoms and everything, which is nice. So yeah, on that note, you want to talk about Sunshine?
I connected to this movie in a way I didn't expect to this time, Jeff.
Interesting.
I see in the first part of the movie, just going around the spaceship and stuff, I see a lot of shit from like Subnautica in it and everything, and the way the ship is laid out, like having the full-on oxygen farm where they're also growing like their fruits and vegetables and stuff.
Like how they kind of have to sustain this type of mission.
Yeah, the whole closed loop that they're on inside that ship felt a lot like walking around a Subnautica base. Yeah, it was interesting.
Just real quickly, full spoilers for Sunshine. This is a super.
It's also a 17-year-old movie.
I don't know. I feel like, you know, if we're reviewing The Dark Knight, I'm not gonna say like spoilers for The Dark Knight, but for Sunshine, there's people out there that probably haven't seen this that would dig it, and I especially so just real quickly, like if you like science fiction movies, I think you should check this out. If you like movies with good, you know, ensemble casts, check this out. God, I think it's just cast. It's like for the cast alone, it's like an unqualified recommendation. But if you like sci-fi stuff, it's really good. It is It's got the third act is very polarizing. I've discovered online.
Yes.
Which I didn't know for a very long time.
I didn't know that until today, basically. But I get both sides of it. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
There are good people on both sides.
I'm gonna end this fucking podcast right now. No amount of fucking COVID brain can absolve that one. Oh fuck.
Oh, that was good. I will turn this podcast around.
So this is Sunshine. We'll kind of start with the cast and crew. What is your kind of history with Danny Boyle? Because I think Danny Boyle is kind of an interesting director. He's a pretty well-known director. But when you look back through his history, like he doesn't really have like a huge amount of, I would say, kind of heavy hitters on his resume. Like he's got some standout stuff like this, and like 28 Days Later, and
yeah,
people really like Trainspotting, which I've heard is really good, but I have not personally seen. But what's kind of your history with Danny Boyle? Because I feel like he's also a bit of a polarizing director, because he's made some stuff that people really like and some stuff that people really fucking hate. Which
sounds to me like he's making the movies he wants to make, is that's usually what that means.
Which I respect a lot. Like if you're not like setting out to be a successful filmmaker for Hollywood, kind of like bottom lines for producers. You're making what you want to make that makes you feel like fulfilled as an artist, which I respect a lot.
Yeah, I don't know that that's the case, but that's usually what that means when people are kind of polarized on a director, or not polarized, but the opposite of that, kind of mixed. In a word, I would say my relationship with his work is short, because there's only a handful of things he's done that I've seen, which is kind of shocking to look back at, because if you say the name Danny Boyle, it'd be like, oh yeah, I love that guy. Well, in reality, I mean, I've seen 28 Days Later, I've seen this, and what was the other one? I think that's it.
So it's funny.
I've heard of a lot of these movies, but I've never seen them. I never saw 127 Hours, and I never saw Slumdog Millionaire. But that may be the most famous one that no one would ever shut up about that movie.
I think Slumdog even won like Best Picture.
It came out a year after this too, so he was fucking busy.
I never saw that though. I did see 127 Hours, which I thought was pretty good. I saw the Steve Jobs movie that he did that I had completely fucking forgotten he directed.
Yeah, I never.
All I remembered was that Fassbender was in it, and that Aaron Sorkin was one of the writers. But I, in a million years, wouldn't have been able to guess that fucking Danny Boyle directed that movie.
What am I thinking of? I'm looking at the description of Slumdog Millionaire, and it is very different than what I was thinking of.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I really, really like Sunshine. I really liked 28 Days Later back in the day when I watched it. I haven't revisited it in a long time though, but I probably will, because I don't know if you had heard. Did you know there's a 28 Years Later coming out next year?
Oh, really?
So it's not only coming out with Danny Boyle returning, Alex Garland is returning to co-write it with them, and they got Cillian Murphy back.
Oh,
for it, which is really interesting to me.
Weird.
Also, Ray Fiennes is going to be in it.
By the way, what I'm thinking of is $1 Million Baby.
Oh, you thought that was Danny Boyle?
Yeah.
Wasn't that Clint Eastwood?
I don't know. I never saw either one of them. Let's see. Yes, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, I never saw it.
Yeah, I never saw it either.
Yeah, I just find Danny Boyle to be kind of an interesting guy, because he's really well known.
A real eclectic list of movies here. They're all very different.
Yeah,
which is interesting. That's good. I like that.
I do too. Almost like a little bit of like kind of Ridley Scott.
I was thinking. I almost said that same thing, and I was like, nah, he'll call me out for that.
What made me think of Ridley Scott is not only the kind of like variety of stuff in his IMDb list, but also like the aesthetics in Sunshine. A lot of it made me think of Ridley Scott. With you still there, Ron?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You didn't say anything, so I literally thought the Discord call got dropped because you went so silent.
I thought you were gonna say something else.
No.
I tend to talk over you, and I get excited. So
I literally thought like your power had gone out, which is pretty funny.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm actually not very familiar with this stuff. I guess I see his name a lot because there's a lot of these movies. It's a long list. It's not as long as like Spielberg or something, but it's a long list of movies. A lot of them hit. It seems. Like I recognize a lot of these movies. They might not, make $1 billion, but I mean, I've seen a lot of these movies in theaters. I just never saw the movie.
Another person that has actually had a few things that he's done that are potentially, like ideas for the show at some point was actually a movie I picked for the kind of hangout sessions we did where we would pick a movie to show the other before this was an actual podcast idea. But Ex Machina was one that Alex Garland had written in the past that which I really, really like. He also wrote Dread, which we absolutely will cover on the podcast, because I love the Carl Urban Dread movie so much.
I also wrote Annihilation, though.
I know you don't like Annihilation. I actually liked Annihilation.
I know I'm the only one that doesn't like Annihilation, but
Annihilation must be kind of like polarizing as well, because it is kind of like well regarded, it seems like, in critic circles, but on IMDb it only has a 6.8, so that seems to be another polarizing one.
He wrote
the
Devil May Cry games?
The reboot one.
The reboot one that everybody absolutely hates?
Yeah, the DMC one that everyone hated.
That means I would like it.
Different.
That means that's the one I should play.
Yeah, that's the only one in the franchise you'd like, was the one everyone hated.
Yeah, that's usually where that goes.
Yeah. So obviously he kind of like started his career as a writer in Hollywood with Danny Boyle, because his first screenplay was 28 Days Later. And he also, I'm assuming, met him because of The Beach, where Alex Garland was the novel writer for that, and then Danny Boyle directed the adaptation of that, which I also have not seen. But I've also heard The Beach is another one that everyone either fucking loves or fucking hates. So it's like both of these dudes will have stuff that is just like super well regarded by some and then loathed by others, which is interesting. I think that's kind of like an interesting place to be.
Real quick, because this is driving me nuts. Wasn't there one sequel already to 28 Days Later? 28 Weeks Later. That's what I'm looking at. Okay.
Yeah, but it didn't have the original creatives.
Oh, God. And then, so 28 years later, so then what? 28 decades later? Is that the next step?
Oh, my goodness. I'm excited for that if they got Cillian Murphy back, because Cillian Murphy can be pretty much choosy with whatever the fuck he wants right now after Oppenheimer and his Oscar win and everything. It's good. It's good.
I've only seen the skit that he did with Colbert.
It is worth watching just for Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. alone. They're both fantastic and absolutely.
I don't think I knew Robert Downey Jr. was in that movie.
Yeah, we talked about it on a previous one where he wasn't really marketed at all, and he's very not Robert Downey Jr., which is interesting, and he's phenomenal in it. So yeah, their two performances alone are great, and they have a crazy ensemble cast for that as well. Many of them only in the movie for like 2 seconds. There's just like the crazy cast.
Yeah, is that movie Nolan?
Yeah,
that's kind of the way Nolan operates, though, isn't it? Like that,
pretty much.
Sounds like that's pretty on brand.
It's even more Nolan than he usually is, though. Ooh. With like this super crazy. So it's like, instead of having the super famous person in the movie for 2 minutes, they're in it for 2 seconds and they're off the fucking screen. You never see him again. You're just like, wait, was that who I think it is? And then
wait, were they in the movie, or did they just pass by in front of the camera?
They were just walking by the studio. It's like, hey,
they're just on the way to the craft services table.
We need an extra. Get over here. So we talked about Cillian Murphy. He plays the main character.
He's also he's
Robert
the main character because he's the only one with a first name.
Yeah, Robert Capa. We also have Rose Byrne, who plays Cassie. What are your thoughts on Rose Byrne? I feel like I've seen Rose Byrne in 1,000 different things, and I don't really have an opinion of her either way. I don't like her or dislike her. She's just there.
I feel like most of the time she can just be kind of there. She's never bad. She's never really stand out either, but I think in certain movies, like in this one, she can get kind of pushed, and I like her in this one pretty good. I think she's pretty good in this.
Yeah,
I think maybe she's one of those Insidious too, wasn't she?
I think I think maybe she's one of those.
You don't think
one of those type of actors we talked about in the past, where it's like they rise or like fall to the occasion based on who's directing. So like they can respond to the director in a certain way in some films, and others are just
You
kind of
don't
like
think she's
phoning
a
it in.
fine girl as Brandy and Bluey?
I totally forgot that was the thing.
Yeah.
And then we have Chris Evans as Mace. My favorite character. I love how Mace the character is written to be the voice of reason and like the viewer.
Yes.
Like, what the fuck are you doing? Stay on the fucking mission. The fate of mankind rests on this mission. Why are we doing a fucking side quest like the Prey video game?
Well,
like, what are we doing?
Speaking of Prey, Benedict Wong, wasn't it him that was like, he's right? And he's like, he's right? Of course I'm right.
I love Chris Evans in this, and I always have so much respect for him being able to swing back and forth between being Captain America, the most like stoic and lovable fucking dude ever, and then Mace.
Yeah.
Chris Evans has like underappreciated range to me. I think everyone really likes Chris Evans. I don't think many people like fully understand. Like Chris Evans is a legitimately fantastic actor.
Yes.
Like he's so fucking good in this.
He was in The Losers, which we've had on this podcast. He is the sole reason Chris wanted to watch this movie with me when I watched it today. Yeah. She didn't care about anything else about it. She just wanted to watch Chris Evans work.
Just want to watch Chris Evans.
Yeah. And I can't.
Isn't it always weird going back to older Chris Evans movies too, when he looks like a normal human instead of a super soldier? Because it takes a minute for my brain to adjust to like, oh yeah, he isn't normally looking like a 6'5" god.
Yeah. My God, you look at him and like Scott Pilgrim over to The Losers, over to Knives Out, and then fucking Captain America.
I bet you can't do a grindy thingy on that rail thingy. I bet you I can.
Also, let's not forget he's Buzz Lightyear in Lightyear.
Oh, I completely forgot that movie existed.
And
I still gotta watch that.
Let's not forget Deadpool and Wolverine. Oh God, that means he's been on here 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cliff Curtis makes a.
He can keep his costume on in this one.
He can't. Hey,
can we rewind for a second? I just noticed Benedict Wong's IMDb photo, and I fucking love it.
He looks like
he looks
like a Bond villain.
Yeah,
looks like a Bond villain.
He does.
Also, we need Benedict Wong as a Bond villain now. Give me that movie, please.
Right. Also, he's making a return. Holy shit! We had Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness on this show. Holy, is there anyone in here that hasn't been on here besides Roseburn?
We had Michelle Yeoh on Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
We've had Cliff Curtis. We've had have we had Cillian Murphy? Yeah, yes. We had. You said we had Free Fire.
We had Free Fire.
Have we had Mark Strong on the podcast before?
If he was also in Free Fire, was he? I don't remember.
Was he in Free Fire?
That's the only thing I can think of that he would have been in that we covered. 1917. He's in 1917.
Ooh, 1970. Good call. I love that movie so much. I was scrolling back through. I have the most random assortment of digital library entries on my Apple account. And I saw when I went to go rent Sunshine that I own 1917. It's like, I might have to watch 1917 again because 1917 is so fucking good.
Nice. He's not in Free Fire. No, he's not in Free Fire.
I'm surprised we haven't had the first Kingsman on this podcast.
Dude, because
that just seems like something that you and I would have picked a lot sooner than this.
I'm one of those psychopaths that likes the second one too.
I really disliked the second one the first time I watched it, but I feel like if I watch it again now,
dude,
I probably like it better.
Take Me Home, Country Roads, man.
Yeah, when you couldn't throw a rock without hitting a trailer or movie using that fucking song back then.
Yo, but it's used to such good effect.
It's so good in that movie. It's so good. So yeah, we also had you know what's super funny too, that just goes to show you like how like fucking stupid I am, is I'm watching Sunshine and I'm like looking back on like how many of these actors were in the MCU, and I was like, how the fuck did they never use Michelle Yeoh in the MCU? And she was in Shang-Chi, and I completely fucking forgot
she really?
She was in Shang-Chi. Do you remember Michelle Yeoh in Shang-Chi? Because I fucking don't.
No, I watched it once. I remember her in the third Mummy movie, but I don't remember her in.
I don't remember her
in Shang-Chi
at all. at all. I don't remember.
She seems fun. It seems like if you ask her, she'll do the fucking movie.
I actually found like a really interesting anecdote about
Do tell.
her. So this was in the trivia for the movie. Danny Boyle was apparently so impressed with Michelle Yeoh's audition, he told her that she could choose any part in the script and he would give it to her, even if it meant changing the gender of the character.
Oh.
And she ultimately decided on Corazon, the biologist, which is pretty cool. That he was just like, Michelle Yeoh's a fucking badass. You pick whatever fucking character you want. I don't give a shit. We'll rewrite it.
Gender bending characters before it was cool.
I know, right? I also like, just while I'm looking at the trivia, there was another cool tidbit.
By the way,
Danny Boyle,
even if it means changing the character's gender, what would it fucking matter in this movie? What a weird thing to say.
Well, I think it was just like it wasn't meant to be like a whole thing. It was just like they had written in the script that the guy just happened to be a guy, and they change it. You know, it's like whatever.
Right.
It's not like it's not like Alien. Remember when Alien was like specifically written to have like no specific gender? So they could kind of cast either way.
No,
it wasn't like that. But yeah,
I get that. But if that's all it is, why even bring it up?
I think it was just meant to show kind of like respect for her, where it's like she can pick whatever fucking character she wants, and then they'll change the script. Or you can just glue a
mustache to her and make her be the male
or you can do that. Yeah. But another cool tidbit: Danny Boyle had all the actors live together in advance of the movie.
I saw that.
And they were living in.
So they legit,
what was
those fight scenes between Cillian Murphy and Chris Evans were real.
So he had the cast live together in a student accommodation in East London.
Nope.
So,
nope.
And his quote, this was from the commentary, I believe. His quote, Danny Boyle said, "I think they were a bit shocked. I think they were expecting to stay in the Dorchester, and in fact, they were a mile in by the canal. So they were living in some shitty fucking student accommodations, which is pretty smart because it would make them want to kill each other. Like to your point,
yeah.
Like, the only person that was like given kind of like free reign out of the horrible accommodations was Cillian Murphy, whose wife was pregnant at the time. So he was allowed to not be in the shitty student accommodations the entire time. I just thought that was really funny. That right there, that anecdote, that's Ridley Scott. That's something Ridley Scott would do.
Absolutely Ridley Scott.
Yeah, like 110%.
The only difference is Ridley Scott would have storyboarded this movie to death.
Yeah, he would have. Let's see who's next. I like Cliff Curtis in this. How it kind of like gives Cliff Curtis a minute to show how fucking bonkers he can be.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Cliff Curtis when we get
Cliff Curtis is fucking nuts in this movie.
Yes, he is.
I'm gonna butcher the name. I apologize. Chippo Chung plays Icarus. I think Icarus is like the AI voice of the ship. We mentioned Michelle Yeoh. Hiroyuki Sanada plays Kaneda, who's the captain.
I know him from Endgame.
Oh yeah, he's super popular right now because of the Shogun show, which I need to get back to. I need to finish.
Yeah, is it good? I haven't started it.
I started it, but I had started on a day where I was like about to have to leave for something, and it seemed really interesting. I just haven't gotten a chance to go back to it, but I plan to soon. Benedict Wong, as we mentioned previously, plays the character Trey. And Troy Garrity plays Harvey, and Troy Garrity looks a lot like one of the sons in Succession, which was like breaking my brain. Not the same actor, just at this point in time when he was a little bit younger, looks a lot like one of the characters in Succession. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't know him. I'm scrolling through his IMDb.
Yeah, I've seen him on like bits and pieces here and there, but not enough to where I would have like recognized him initially.
He was a bartender in The Cherokee Kid.
Yeah.
Is he old enough to be a bartender in The Cherokee Kid?
Good question. I have no idea.
Hang on. He's 12
we gotta get to the bottom of this.
No, he's 12 years older than me. 1996. I mean, he's barely old enough to drink by the time he's the bartender, but yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mystery solved.
Thank you.
And Mark Strong plays Pinbacker.
Yeah, he does. Plays the fuck out of some Pinbacker.
Dude.
Red and Pinbacker.
Goddamn, Mark Strong is fucking going for it in this movie. I appreciate it.
Mark Strong is not Mark Weak in this movie.
He is not. I really don't know where to begin with Sunshine. What's interesting to me about the movie is like I think like the biggest thing that creates the kind of like polarizing response to it is the thing that made me like it so much the first time I watched it, which was the third act twist. Like this isn't just like a third act twist, it completely changes genres, which the first time I watched it blew my fucking mind and I thought was super cool.
It's a super bold choice.
It is a super bold choice. I have a lot of respect for it. It completely 110% worked for me on initial viewing, where I loved the twist because of how like ballsy it is. On rewatch, I didn't like it as much the second time.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't. It obviously didn't ruin the movie for me. I still love this movie. I think it's fantastic.
As dumb as the overall plot is, the movie is incredibly well written in the way the characters interact with the mission, with the Martian level of things that kind of start going wrong.
Yeah.
You know, it's incredibly well made, and it's really well written, and the way the music and everything plays in to create that drama. The score is so good.
The fucking main song from this that everyone knows, oh god, what is it? It's like Adagio in D minor, I think is what it's, something like that. If you look at how many times that song has been reused in trailers, in like sporting event stuff, it is like one of the most like reused bits of score in the past 50 years, because it's such a fucking incredible, like it's the song that plays towards the very end and when Kaneda dies. That bit of music that once everyone hears it, everyone will immediately know. And what's interesting is like this was where it originated. Like this was the first thing that song was in.
Nice.
And then everyone just started copying it. It's fucking crazy. Like I'll find the list.
It's hard to disagree with any of the characters in their arguments for things. They're arguing from their point of view with the knowledge that they have. And while you might philosophically agree with any one character, just looking at the data, you know, that they're looking at, like, they're not making stupid decisions. It's really interesting how this movie is well written. One thing that I didn't remember about it that I appreciated so much, when it starts, we're almost to the sun.
Yeah, they don't fuck around. Like there isn't very much preamble to it.
We don't have 20 minutes of what's going on Earth or what happened to the sun or what life
you don't
is
have like I think like what would often happen in this type of movie too is we would get like week 1 on the mission, week 25 on the, and like a slow kind of burn throughout the longevity of the mission. And it's like no, they're 90% done pretty much.
They're almost there. It's almost go time.
Just real quickly, the song that I was talking about, the Adagio in D minor, this is just some of the stuff that it's appeared in. It first appeared in Sunshine, trailer for Ready Player One, trailer for the Adjustment Bureau, trailer for X-Men Days of Future Past, trailer for X-Men Origins Wolverine, pilot episode of Fringe, multiple episodes of The Walking Dead, NBC's coverage of the 2010 Winter Olympics.
Oh, nice.
The Lovely Bones, Kick-Ass, a trailer for Star Trek Into Darkness, a TV spot for Gravity, a trailer for Unbroken, announcement trailer for the PC game Civilization 6, an episode of the ESPN Netflix docuseries The Last Dance, and Hans Zimmer used it in Wonder Woman 1984 instead of a song that he composed himself because he liked it so much.
Wow. Isn't
that fucking nuts? Like all that from this. It's such a wonderful piece of music. I don't blame anyone for reusing it because it's that good.
Nice. Yeah. God, it plays in so well with how it's used too. Like
so good.
But the way we hit the ground running, the characters make sense in what they're doing, and Danny Boyle required them to do like light reading in the topics that their characters were in charge of on the ship. So when they sound like they know what they're talking about, they have a layman's like cursory knowledge of what they are talking about. That's why they sound like they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just a really interesting, well-made movie. I mean, there's some weirdness with it. Like, I don't understand why we have artificial gravity even when the ship has no power and everything is powered down.
You can tell that this is not an Andy Weir thing.
Yeah,
like they are not going out of their way to make sure. It's like it's not the point. Like this is a movie. This is a movie focused more. This is a movie focused more on the theming and like the message that it's going for, with like the whole like science versus religion type of thing, than it is the like the nuance of the scientific detail like an Andy Weir thing would be.
It does do the Doctor Who thing. It kind of blew my mind in Doctor Who's. I never really thought about it, but like they could be standing at different angles inside the ship because artificial gravity always pulls towards the floor. So like at the end when they're in the giant cube from Transformers, and Mark Strong is standing on one side and they're sitting on the other side looking up at him, look over the edge at them.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Like the way
it's
like,
a cool yeah, it's very disorienting to watch.
It really is. They're doing it because they said they had that line about how space and time start getting weird the deeper you go into the sun. But I mean, if you had artificial gravity, that is the way it would theoretically work because it always pulls towards the floor, right? So you could actually like do that in that situation. But you know, there's some weirdness with it like that. But what is interesting, something I always look for in sci-fi, because I watch and follow enough like actual NASA scientists and follow a lot of like the TV shows that they've had on Science Channel and stuff. One gripe they always have with spaceships in sci-fi is the wasted space, because they'll look at a movie that has a spaceship with these giant wide open spaces, and they're like, either you're wasting materials building the ship, or you're wasting the space not putting more vital stuff that you need in there, or more supplies, or whatever. Like, you don't have wasted space on a ship. Everything in this ship, it's tightly packed, it's narrow hallways, there seems to be a use for everything. One thing I look for in sci-fi is there are entire companies, their entire job is to create UI for fake computer systems in movies and fake UIs for graphics and stuff. I love how high tech the ship is and like how low res, but yet good enough the systems are when they show a visual graphic to the audience. That it's not like a detailed, like fully 3D render. It's just like line art that you can see the pixels in,
right?
Things like that. Because these are scientists; they don't need the graphics. The numbers are enough for them, right?
You know what's like one moment of that I think is really great is early on in the movie. I forget. I think it's when they have to change course to go after the Icarus One.
Yeah.
But they set up a slingshot maneuver around the nearby planet,
right,
without taking the time to like explain that.
Exactly.
You just either know what it is because you know a bit about like the whole like slingshotting thing, or you don't.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because they're not like grinding the movie to a halt to have the scientists like explain the thing to the other. And another moment of that is like I think really well written is when the shields are hit by like the extreme amount of heat from the sun.
Man, the solar wind and stuff.
There's a sound when the type of metal or whatever it is like contracting.
Yes.
And Chris Evans does explain to the audience so that they're aware, you know, like it's like the contracting metal that makes it sound like a fucking horror movie is happening. And Michelle Yeoh is like, she's like, oh my God. And then he explains it. And she's like, yeah, I fucking know.
It's like, yeah, I know what it is. It doesn't mean I like it.
And yeah, it doesn't mean that it's not, you know, terrifying.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great little moment where it's like, he's explaining it so the audience will know what's happening, because they wouldn't explain it to each other, but he like mansplains it to her, and then she's like, yeah, I fucking know. Well, so it's like a character moment, but also like exposition.
He absolutely is mansplaining it, but I kind of took that as he too is scared and is rationalizing to himself out loud as well as.
Oh yeah, that makes I can see that too.
That's the way I kind of.
But the way she takes it though is mansplaining, and I like
which
her
is
like
legit,
the way
because that is
which is legit. Yeah, which is legit, and the way Michelle Yeoh like delivers the line is perfect. I think they do a great job of that overall.
I love the ship design so much. I love the heat shield is made of individual panels that can move on their own to always optimize how the shield is shielding. I think that's really neat. We build telescopes that do that with mirrors. Like, that's not an out of this world thing. We have telescopes in space and on the ground that have segmented mirrors like that realign themselves as they need to. So doing that on a fucking solar shield makes perfect sense. The thing I thought of my other weird gripe on something this important, and that is they disconnect from the big solar shield at one point to go connect with Icarus One. No tethering, no anchoring or anything, and it turns out that is the payload that Earth is depending on, and it's just free floating in orbit. Nothing tethering it to make sure they can get back to it or recover it. When I saw that this time, I was like, I'm sorry, you're detaching from the thing that's going to save everyone to do this?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I thought that was weird. I thought that was a really weird thing to do. But anyways, that's the end of my gripes really with it.
I have a specific gripe just real quick.
Sure.
Later, and it could have been answered in such like a super quick and like plot hole fixer thing. But at one point, Cillian Murphy finds out that there's an extra passenger on board and doesn't immediately use the intercoms to warn everybody,
right.
Hey, we have another fucking person on board, when literally all you had to do was have him figure that out, go to the comms and say like, is it Icarus? Is that the name of the AI?
Yes.
And be like, Icarus, warn everyone there's an extra passenger on board. And all that needed to happen was for him to try that and for the AI to say like, comms have been deactivated by someone on board. Plot hole fix.
So,
but instead, Cillian Murphy finds out someone else is on board.
Yeah.
Figures out from the AI where the dude's at, and instead of gathering everyone up or telling anybody else or doing anything, he just walks over to the passenger, which has to be one of the people from the other ship. It's really dumb. It, like, took me out of the movie for a second. I still overall like it, but it's a really fucking dumb moment that could have easily been fixed by a second of him trying to use the comms being deactivated by Pinbacker.
That is an 80s horror movie trope that a dumb teenager would do.
Yeah.
Is what that is. But that moment though has a lot of fucking gravity to it. When
that scene is incredible. They just should have answered it with a fucking plot hole fix.
Icarus, who is the fifth crew member? Unknown. And you're just like, what?
That first line Pinbacker says to him, where he asked him like, "Are you an angel?" That's such a fucking great line.
Okay, so I have in my notes. Let me just read you verbatim what I have. Mark Strong is a goddamn Bloodborne boss, and his intro on board the Icarus 2 is a boss intro cutscene. The way it's shot, as he's like standing up, he's laying on the ground, and as he's standing up, silhouetted, "Are you an angel?" Like, I got some real beasts all over the shop. Like, it's enough to make a man sick. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that if the Bloodborne adaptation ever actually happens, yeah, he needs to be Gascoigne. That'd be great.
Yeah, that's what I have verbatim, because it is so chilling. Because okay, yes, you could argue the AI should have been smart enough to do whatever. That is such a specific moment to program an AI to do. It makes sense the AI wouldn't just alert them.
Oh no, I wasn't saying the AI. I wasn't saying the AI.
No. I'm not saying you. I'm just saying that if you think about it, like, it makes, in any other movie the AI would say something, right? In this movie it doesn't, because it's a computer. It does what it's programmed to do. Who the fuck would have thought they would have picked up a stowaway that's going to murder them at some point?
Yeah, that's totally cool. My complaint was about Cillian Murphy, not.
No, I understand that.
We're
I wasn't
alerting
calling
people.
you out.
That was. Yeah, but that is cool, because the AI wouldn't. It's like, whatever. There's a person on board. I don't give a shit.
This ship serves one purpose, and it is programmed for one purpose.
And they were never planning a rescue mission, they at all. Like, it was we're going to deliver the payload and come back. That's it. It wasn't a rescue mission at all. It was just to do the payload.
I have a question. How do you feel about it not being a suicide mission from the get-go? You're going to the sun to drop a thing into it.
Yeah, I don't know. it feels like within the movie what they're trying to do is like establish the weight of like they're trying to like amplify the weight of the decision
Yeah.
that like the decision of going off book with their mission has not only jeopardized like the crew because now they are on a suicide mission, they've also jeopardized humanity. So like I get that, but yeah, you would think it would be a suicide mission just based on like the logistics of it, but
Because
I don't know.
Here's the thing: I get the feeling, and obviously I don't know this. This is just the feeling I get from watching the movie. As I was thinking about it when the movie was over, Troy Garrity, right, playing Harvey, his character starts freaking out about he wants to get back on that ship because he wants to go home when the mission's over.
Oh man.
And I feel like making it a round trip, the whole point of it is to have a character freak out like that. I feel like even on a suicide mission, someone is going to break down and feel that same way. Like there's still a chance that we could go home. You know, like Project Hail Mary did that. It was a suicide mission from the beginning in that book. And
Yeah.
he is constantly talking about wanting to go home or trying to think of a way to get home, but that's a problem for later. And then he gets the option to later, you know, like it could still work where you still have this guy's been in space thinking about his death for months, right? It still makes sense that he would freak out and want to get across the ship because I don't want to die now. I'm supposed to die later. Let me live to that point at least, right? Like it would still make a sense.
And well, and they're also just establishing that Harvey is a piece of shit.
Yes.
Like Harvey is just what a fucking
He's
scumbag.
A higher priority.
Like,
I'm a higher priority. You're a
I'm the captain.
You're a communications officer on a ship with no communications.
That line is probably the best line in the movie. It's so good. The way Chris Evans delivers it too, I fucking love you, Steve Rogers.
Oh god.
I love it so much.
It's so good.
And the fact that he's such like the what is this fucking Harvey is such a selfish piece of shit. Like their entire mission is based around like the payload, obviously, and Chris Evans is doing the right thing. He's suiting up, you know, Kappa because like they need. Why is Chris Evans not second in command? By the way, because Chris Evans is the one making like the logical, correct calls all the time.
Yeah. So, what is interesting, I thought, about Mace, Chris Evans's character. They set him up a couple of times at the beginning for him to be the unlikable one, like the one the audience is supposed to respond to of kind of fuck this guy. But he is the one that is thinking mission first the entire time. And he's making hard decisions that are intentionally designed to set the audience against him a little bit. But at the same time, he's making the only call in the moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Of course you don't want your captain to die. But he's not wrong either. If they called the captain back, who's going to be able to repair the thing? He's already out there in the middle of repairing. If he repairs it, he dies. If he doesn't repair it, who knows if they can finish the mission?
Yeah, and very likely because of what was happening, they're fucked if they don't get those panels closed right then.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
And then later, you know, with saying Cillian Murphy's the one that gets the suit. And he's talking about how he's a higher priority because he is the captain now. I am the captain now. Me, Harvey. And he's just like, no, you're a communications officer on a ship with no communications. Like, every decision that he is making, it is the right one. Cillian Murphy's important. I don't think we've said because he's the onboard physicist. The payload to restart the sun and save humanity is his responsibility. He's the one that has to make it to the sun. So,
yeah. Didn't they also say like he was like the main designer for it too or something?
Yeah, something like that. And it failed the first time.
Like
so yeah, and this whole movie is set up too on the premise of we tried it once and it failed. You know, 2 opportunities is better than 1. We finished mining, hollowing out the earth to build this thing a second time. We can't do it again. So instead of sending a physicist. We're sending the physicist this
The
time.
physicist, because like he like we need every. It's like a Hail Mary. Yeah.
This is the Hail Mary, right?
This is the Hail Mary.
mission
Yeah.
needs
If we didn't,
every opportunity to succeed, and that's why he makes the decision he does of if that payload is intact on the Icarus One, we're already here. We have 2 opportunities to succeed now.
If we didn't already say, the main plot is the Earth is in the middle of a solar winter because the sun's dying. So they are trying to detonate a stellar bomb and pretty much have like a supernova happen inside the sun to create like a new star and therefore kind of like kickstart the sun, basically to save the Earth. Which apparently like doesn't make any fucking sense at all to people that actually know what they're talking about, but I don't care because I'm just watching the movie.
Yeah.
I don't need every. I appreciate The Martian because it is taking the time to pass the Neil deGrasse Tyson test of not being bullshit. I don't need that to be the case with every science fiction thing.
Right.
Like I can enjoy it just as much.
There is a difference between science fiction and hard science fiction, right? Things like The Martian, I would say, are hard science fiction because it's trying to stay within the realm of reality as much as possible. I like those type movies. I like science. I like when science is represented correctly. I also really like The Core and Armageddon and those type movies as well. So it's fine. This movie is good enough that I can ignore the shaky science in it because I want to watch this movie. I want to enjoy this movie. And with this cast and with this writing, there's no reason why I can't.
You know what the difference is too is like the movie doesn't have to be scientifically accurate as long as it's internally consistent.
Exactly.
And the writing and the characterization and the the acting all combined together to make you not care because it is compelling in its own right. The science works inside the movie for them because they make it work, and it doesn't matter. You know, you're there to kind of like watch these events unfold.
And you can build bigger and better to get to like Mars because we can get to the moon. We know how to do it. The sun is an interesting challenge, right? How the fuck do you go to the sun?
That was actually one of the things that drew Danny Boyle to this as a project because he was kind of like caught off guard. When you think about it, we don't really have many science fiction properties that are, you know, sun-centric as far as like being a part of the story. It's just kind of like a rare thing, which is you think it wouldn't be because it's such like a layup of a story, but it's just not really that common.
Yeah. Can I take this moment to point out, everyone, we have a probe in space called the Parker probe that sits inside the sun's atmosphere and takes measurements.
What's funny is that I think you were telling that to me like a couple weeks ago, like before I picked Sunshine. So you might have been like partially like what got me thinking about Sunshine.
How is that not headlines all around the world? The Parker probe, named after a scientist, by his last name is Parker. I can't think of his first name. Hopefully it's not Peter, but his last name is Parker, and they named it after him because he had the conceptualization that in theory the sun should be emitting particles nearly at the speed of light in all directions, like a wind. It's something he called the solar wind. And he was laughed out of the scientific community. Everyone made fun of him and destroyed him, and it ruined his career. And he was there at the launch for the Parker probe, invited to watch it. And he got to watch the probe named after him that was going to go to the sun. Because like that was like his redemption moment. Not only was he eventually proven right, the first and only solar probe that we have that goes into the sun's atmosphere and takes measurements is named after him. It's so cool. It's such a cool story. Like,
super cool.
I feel like that is at least like a TV movie that should be written.
Yeah, it probably will be eventually.
Like that, and like there's been a documentary on the God particle. But it's kind of the same story for the Higgs boson. He was laughed out of the scientific community, and then they found it a few years ago in the Large Hadron Collider.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So take that, science. But yeah, anyways, that's a thing that exists. Go look it up. It's really fucking cool. It's got a giant solar shield. It looks a lot like this ship, to be honest. It's got a giant solar shield that it hides behind, and it actually goes into the sun's atmosphere. It actually goes into the sun a little bit. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild that we can make that happen.
So, segue. The solar wind, Jeff. The effect that they do throughout the movie for the ferocity of the sun and it just blasting the ship anytime they show it is so cool. I know
It's really cool.
I know that it's a camera filter and some bright lights and shaking the camera a little bit, but that coupled along with the sound effect they put with it, without even showing you the goddamn sun, it just sounds like an angry ball of fire.
It's crazy. I also like how when they are staring into the sun at like 3%,
It's almost intolerable.
there's so much gamma. It's almost like Lost Izalith in the first Dark Souls game.
Yeah.
You were like the painful look at lava that everyone hated.
Yeah, they just need to install a mod on the sun and it's fine.
Yeah, then it's fine. So here's the thing that I found interesting is watching it. I don't think I caught it on like first viewing. I like how one of the reasons Chris Evans is the one kind of like having to make all like the tough decisions and shit for the crew is because the captain is starting to go crazy from staring at the sun too. He's just on the first kind of like stages of it. Because you'll notice kind of throughout the first like half of the movie, like it's a specific performance from is it Hiroyuki? Is that his first name? Yeah, Hiroyuki Sanada.
Yeah.
He's very lackadaisical in the way that he's making decisions, in the way that he just kind of carries himself, and it's because he is starting to get kind of like captivated by the sun, the way that it's making Cliff Curtis crazy.
Yeah.
So there's this whole like, when I first started this,
they got the space sickness. They got the space madness.
They do, and the sun is just like they've had nothing else to look at but the sun for what, like years?
Yeah.
Like how long is this mission? How long have they been in space at this point to get there?
I don't know.
They probably say, but I can't remember. But it's got to get to the sun. It's got to be what, like a few years, right?
You could calculate it. They show their velocity. It's 93 million miles to the sun.
Yeah. So like they've been in space for a while with nothing else to look at but the sun at 2%. It's
Not
already
to
made.
mention, they're trapped in a spaceship with 8 other people, sensory deprivation. The lights are always on. Like, time does not seem like time. It's always night outside, because it's space. Like, these are things that NASA are actually looking into because we plan to establish a base on, I believe, the south pole of the moon. And then we plan to go to Mars. That's supposed to be our staging ground to go to Mars. And the things that are happening in this movie to the crew are things that NASA is taking very seriously right now and looking into, and have talked about how perfect of a match that people need to be psychologically. And they even talk about that in The Martian. That's one of the reasons Watney is picked, is his sense of humor.
His sense of humor would make him be able to survive under those conditions because he can kind of,
and it would help. Would help the crew survive as well.
Yeah. They specifically got people that would create camaraderie.
Yes.
And not want to fucking kill each other.
And it led to them, committing mutiny and stealing the Hermes and going back for him.
Yeah. And getting Ned Stark fired.
Fired. He got to keep his head in this one. He got to keep his head.
He did. So another one of my other absolute favorite quotes in the movie was from Mace, and it happens early on, and it's after Searle. Cliff Curtis has the whole absence of darkness conversation about staring in the sun. It like envelops you and shit. It's very strange. I recommend it. And then Mace just says, "What's strange, Searle, is that you're the psych officer on this ship, and I'm clearly a lot saner than you are."
When you said favorite quote is from Chris Evans, I had that one highlighted on IMDb. I knew that's what you were gonna say.
Fucking great. Nobody delivers a smart ass line like Chris Evans.
One of my favorite jokes in the movie, though, because this movie's got straight up jokes in it for how dark it is. Cassie, right? Rose Byrne has a great delivery on, we have an excess of manliness in the comm center right now.
That's so good. So one thing that I found interesting is I thought about it too when I was watching it, and then I saw like a specific quote about it. So it was like something that other people had kind of like caught on to. There is like a different version of this movie where Searle is the antagonist.
Yes.
Because Searle is the one who is actually, and I think it could potentially lead to like a better movie. If Searle is the one to go crazy, it is someone who is the antagonist who isn't a random person from the other ship. As good as Mark Strong is, like I'm not saying I would remove that from what we have. I like the movie the way it is, but there's a concept there to where if Searle is the main villain, he is someone they already know, and it's like more of a consolidated story to where I think if that had been the story that was put into the movie, people might not have freaked out so much about the like genre switch,
right?
Because it would have been an antagonist who has been along for the ride instead of like someone who came out of nowhere, I don't know if that thought crossed your mind.
Not exactly out of nowhere on screen, but we hear about the captain well before we ever see him.
He comes out of nowhere as far as his relationship to the other characters. Like he's just this dude that they've heard about, and they saw like the one like journal entry video blog thing that he posted or whatever. But do you get what I'm saying though? Did that thought cross your mind to where like there's like a read of this where like Searle could have been the villain because he's going crazy?
Actually, no, I hadn't thought of it, but I mean, he's going down that path.
He absolutely is. He's just, what's kind of cool too is like I almost wonder if like Alex
falling off at one point.
I almost wonder if like Alex Garland figured out that could be a read for the movie because of those, or like I think some of the very first scenes in the movie is Searle staring at the sun.
It is.
So like he is establishing it as
scene,
he's establishing it as a subplot really early on, and I think it's kind of like a cool subversion that like Searle ends up being one of the more like heroic people in the movie because he stays behind on Icarus 1 so that they can jettison across when they pop the airlock.
I almost wonder if that's at odds with the fact that he's the psychology officer, and like he knows that this is bad news. You know what I mean?
And I also think he wanted an excuse to just say fuck it and then go stare at the sun 100%.
Right.
So there's subtleties to it because he immediately fucking goes and does that.
Right.
But it's interesting. Like he like even though we don't fully know like how right he is in the head when he makes that decision, like he volunteers to stay behind. He guarantees he's gonna die so that they have a shot. So it's kind of cool. I would be curious to see Alex Garland talk about that angle with Searle and see like what all he intended to be like a misdirect, what all is just us kind of like Monday morning quarterbacking the way that the character arcs work.
He might
and
have
what was
somewhere.
intentional.
There's that Directors Guild podcast that I listen to from time to time. I believe there's a Writers Guild one as well.
Yeah, I would really like to hear him talk about this movie because it's really interesting. You want to talk about like the third act kind of change? So the first two acts of the movie are essentially in the vein of The Martian, where you have like a science fiction story to where it's just about them kind of surviving and trying to stay on mission. It's the third act kind of like switching into pretty much being a slasher movie that really irks a lot of people, and I kind of get it because it didn't work for me quite as well without it being a surprise. It totally worked for me, like I said earlier, with it being a shock because I just thought it was really cool. But what are your kind of thoughts on like the third act slasher change?
It does seem like it's trying to shoot a little bit for like Event Horizon a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't bother me, and I think the reason it doesn't bother me is probably solely because of just, no pun intended, how strong the acting is, like, and how solid the writing is. Because it's played off very well. Because, I mean, there's no more terrifying thought than someone in your home or whatever that you didn't know was there. Right.
So like just real quickly, if anyone hasn't seen it, what changes in the movie to turn it into a slasher movie is
They
Mark
literally
Strong,
board
who
the
is
event
the
horizon.
yeah, Mark Strong is I think it was the captain, right? He was
Yes,
the captain of the Icarus One. He's the captain of the Icarus One, the first mission to go reignite the sun. They lost comms with this ship. They did not, successfully complete their mission.
No one knows why.
Nobody knows why. They're believed to have been dead for a long time. He ends up sneaking on board the main character's ship, detonating the airlock thing to where they're just like completely fucked and stuck on the other ship that they think until they figure out a way across. And then the third act is essentially just Pinbacker, the captain from the first ship, who is like irreparably burned from just exposure to the sun.
He is
where you can
skin cancer at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. He has gone absolutely insane.
I'm pretty
just from
sure
being
he's naked the entire time too.
Yeah. See, then that's the thing too. I think as much as I like this movie, I think they go overboard with the effects when he's shown on screen.
So I was gonna say
there are some times where it is like you're looking at a fucking Nine Inch Nails music video. I think they go way overboard with that shit. What do you think about that?
See, I'm the opposite, because they are using the same effect I described earlier that they used for the sun and the solar wind on Mark Strong. Also, it's the same sound effect. It's the same effect.
They're trying to make him seem like a force of nature, which I get. Like, I get the reasoning behind it. I just think the actual execution of it, I didn't like as much, because there is a sequence, like just as an example, there's a scene when Cassie is like being like chased by him. I can't even tell what is happening half the time because they are going so overboard with the editing effect and the kind of like blurring of the I don't even know what the fuck exactly is happening on screen to make the effects happen, but like I like the theming behind it and I like the idea. I never want like that type of concept as far as like what we want the character theming to be, to make it to where I can't tell what's happening. That was my kind of like big problem with it.
Yeah.
It's not always like, there are certain scenes where it's used to like great effect, like when they fucking deglove his arm.
Oh,
that scene is
no! Don't say deglove.
That scene is fucking haunting, dude.
I fucking know where you got that term too.
Yeah, that scene, but like because of that effect, is amplified even more, and it's fucking haunting, and just fucking disturbing as fuck.
The fucking guttural scream he lets out too.
I just never want to like lose sight of what is happening in the frame because of the artistic decision to like use this effect, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I get it. It worked for me though. I liked it.
I like the idea of it a lot. It's just I wish they had turned it down to like 75%. So I wasn't wondering what the fuck I just watched.
3.1% was a little much for you. Wanted the 2.89%.
Yeah, it's a little much. Yeah. What does Icarus say? Like at like 4%, you'll have irreparable damage. I have irreparable damage from watching that degloving scene, dude. Holy the fuck!
Oh god! Fuck you for
see.
putting degloving back in my mind.
Oh man, I'm trying to think back of some other. So it worked for me 10,000% first viewing. Fucking loved. I love the twist. I love the genre switch. I always love when movies aren't afraid to kind of actually do shit like that because it's so rare. It usually never, like, how many times has there been a legitimate conversation of people complaining because a movie switched genres?
Yeah,
like that never fucking happens. And I think it's super cool. But I do kind of get where people are coming from, to where the first two acts is such a compelling science fiction story to where if that's all you wanted, I get it. I get kind of being disappointed that what you started out with isn't what you ended up with.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, if you look at Metacritic, wow, I swear to God, this was different when I looked at it earlier today. I swear to God, this movie had like a 30-something on Metacritic and a 7.5 on the user score, but it's showing favorable on both. I must be thinking of a different movies. I looked at multiple movies, but I was gonna say it shows in the it shows up in the critic score a lot more than it does in the user score. So it didn't really affect standard audiences as much as it did the critics.
Gotcha.
From what I'm seeing, but I also have the wrong numbers in my head, so I may have been looking at maybe my pick. I don't know, as I know my pick is in the boat of the critics hated it and the users generally like it.
Gotcha.
So I know the user score is a lot higher for my pick, so maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But I don't know. The genre switch. I was all in on it on my first watch. On my second watch, like knowing it's coming, I probably appreciated it less. It still doesn't really bother me.
Yeah. You know what's also interesting is like they foreshadow the horror of it a lot more than I thought.
Oh yeah, especially
when
with
you
that
know
message that they intercept from Icarus One.
Yeah, it's like when you know what to look for, it's like clear as day what they're setting up. But on first viewing, it went right over my fucking head to where when it switched to slasher, I was like, "Holy fuck!"
They've been in
totally
space,
caught me off guard.
They've been in space for like a few months, maybe, and look at the effect it's having on the captain and on Cyril. So imagine a guy that's been by himself for 7 years, floating around the sun, just bathing in it.
His whole thing of just wanting to be the last person with the sun, so he can he views the sun as God.
He says that his mission given to him by God is to return us all to God. So we cannot restart the sun. The sun has decided, God has decided that we are to return to heaven. So we cannot interfere with that holy mission.
And doesn't he also want to be like the last man alive? He wants to be like the last person to like. There's something about that with like I forget the exact quotes, but he has like a lot of spiels about how this is like a religious mission for him now.
Bobby, get your shot glass ready, and anyone else listening, get your bingo cards out. There's a lot of parallels to this in the story of Dark Souls 1. With the first flame and everybody coveting it and stuff. Like the sun is the first flame, you know? Mark Strong is Gwen. Yeah, like it's got a lot going for that department. But yeah, I don't know. I really like this movie. I think the third act is pretty strong. I think either way.
See what you did there.
I didn't even think about it. I think if he had gone the Cliff Curtis route, as long as he wouldn't need to keep his costume on at that point either, because Mark Strong didn't. He didn't even keep his skin on. I think either way you go, it works pretty good. It going from not hardcore, but it going from sci-fi to a little bit of Event Horizon / Alien. I don't know. It's so little of the movie. I remember that part being so much longer the first time I watched it.
The slasher part of it?
Yeah, going back to it this time, I was surprised at how quickly the movie ended once that part starts. It's such a small part of the movie, it feels like.
Yeah, there's a lot more of the movie by percentage that is traditional science fiction. That it's not. Oh, I found the quote, by the way. So this is the first scene when they like fully have Kappa meet Penbacker, where he says, "Are you an angel? Has the time come? I've been waiting so long. Who am I at the end of time? A moment will come when just one man remains. Then the moment will pass. The man will be gone. There will be nothing to show that we were ever here but stardust. The last man, alone with God. Am I that man? My God. Not your God, mine." There's like really great delivery going back and forth between him and Cillian Murphy, and the dialogue's really good, and he's just fucking nuts.
Yeah.
So like it's interesting. when you compare the Searle ends up being the villain idea versus the Pinbacker one, because the Pinbacker one almost makes him to be more like a force of nature. He's like a fucking elemental being at that point. He basically has like fucking super strength when he just casually lifts Cillian Murphy towards the end. He's like almost like supernatural at times. And then if you went the Searle route, I think it is more kind of like he's gone nuts, but we're not going down the route of him being like elemental.
I wonder
it's interesting
if that was them trying to steer clear of Event Horizon comparison. To have a stowaway instead of someone within the crew.
Yeah, but then again, it's still so Event Horizon. I don't think they were going to get by that comparison, regardless of which direction they went down. I would like to hear what Alex Garland kind of envisioned for this, both in the writing process and like looking back on it. I think it'd be fun to talk to him about it.
I'm trying to find. There is a quote that coincides with yours. It's on IMDb quotes page. I saw it earlier and then I scrolled away from it. So we had Cyril earlier asking Kanata what he sees when Kanata is incinerated.
You're talking about when he's asking like, "What did you see?"
So there was that, but what happens later? Cyril and Kappa. God damn it! I had it. I know it's in here. Hey Kappa, we're only stardust. Cyril just randomly throws out in the movie, which is go back to Pinbacker. There will be nothing to show that we ever were here but stardust. So Cyril is like halfway, 40% of the way to Pinbacker. Because they're both talking about stardust.
And when they have those kind of like shared exact verbiage, it starts to add up, you know, like, is there actually this elemental force out there that is like almost like a Lovecraftian kind of thing? There's a lot of like subtext to Pinbacker and Searle, and like, are they actually being persuaded by this like this elemental god thing, or are they just going nuts? But then they have like the kind of like the shared use of the word stardust and the way that they kind of, because like obviously Cyril isn't as far gone as Mark Strong is, but he's pretty fucking batshit at times. Like,
well,
he's picking off skin off of his face because he's just been staring at the fucking sun for 6 hours for no reason. And
it's not him peeling either. Like, it's gooey when he pulls it off.
It's gross.
No,
okay.
They're clearly being influenced by the solar snake things from Doctor Who that live in the sun.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, they're clearly being influenced by that.
Yeah. We figured out the mystery, y'all. You're welcome. Yeah, so it's interesting. I still love this movie, aspects of it. I think this makes for like an interesting conversation. They would almost be like a good topic for like a future Q&A section of movies that play out really differently on first viewing versus rewatch. Because when you're watching Sunshine, knowing the twist, you're kind of like keeping an eye out for that stuff, and it's kind of like in the front of your mind. But when you're just watching it, it was such a good twist that influences like your entire first viewing just based on the twists. Like maybe just like a conversation about twist in general. Like some movies, like the entirety of what you think back like fondly about it is influenced by just being surprised, and like how much the movie can hold up when the surprise is no longer an element that's going to be fresh for you is interesting to think about, at least to me.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting conversation, at least.
For sure. Because there's a few movies that I think would make for good like The Sixth Sense is a completely different experience when you're watching it through the outlet of like knowing the twists. And I think it's sometimes fun to rewatch a movie that has like a really good twist and just seeing the foreshadowing that went over your head. Sorry, what'd you
What a twist.
say? What the twist?
Can I tell you a funny story?
Yeah.
I screened this movie way
Nice.
back when in 2007. I was in projection booth at that time. You and I both had the same boss at one point, but because I worked both projection booths, the booth manager was also my boss. She finished her movie. Her movie was shorter than mine, so it was just me and her in the building, so she just came and joined me in mine and sat in the seat right next to me.
Mhm.
And this is a lady I've been friends with since she was the one that hired me, and every department she moved through, she always took me with her, right? So I've literally worked for this lady my entire career at the movie theater at this point. And she's sitting next to me, and we're sitting there enjoying the movie, having a good time. And when his arm gets degloved, she almost ends up in my lap. Like,
Really?
She just freaks the fuck out.
I love how fucking coy they are about showing anything with that character, but man, you get a full fucking glimpse of that shit happening.
You're so
They're like,
happy that they don't show it.
dude, the sound effects.
You can see just enough of the people's faces, and you can see just enough of what's happening.
Oh my
because
god!
It's such a color contrast.
And it's like you see it, but you don't really see it. But your imagination fills in all the fucking details that you need to be fucking terrified. And it's
like
it's so good, but so fucking gross.
Like, she's not like a totally innocent person. She's like a churchy person and stuff. She's not totally innocent. She'll watch a slasher movie or whatever, and we're sitting there just having a good time, and she fucking screams and like nearly just leaps out of her chair into my lap when that happens.
It's rough. I mean, we've talked about how many thousands of horror movies I've seen and how desensitive. If it is brutal enough to where I am like, holy the fuck, it's fucked up. It's rough.
So my first experience with this movie and the degloving scene was laughter because I'm just laughing at her.
But then now you watch it, you're just like, fuck.
So I had when I was watching this, I had the reaction I'm supposed to have, the appropriate reaction, but it also unlocked that memory for me. I hadn't thought about that in years.
Core memory unlocked.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
I hadn't thought about that at all in a long time. She just casually strolls in, sits down next to me. So what's going on? And I explained the movie to her and stuff. And then it turned into a slasher movie shortly after that. And I was like, well, this is completely different. And then
and now she has this fucking PTSD from Sunshine too.
Oh god. It was so good.
What was the joke that you had found where like the daylight savings time? What was the exact joke for that? That was such a good joke that I wanted to include on the podcast.
I think I screenshotted it and sent it to you. Let me actually pull it up.
Okay.
So I can quote it correctly.
I'll start some of our sign-offs while you're pulling that up. If you would like to follow the show more, you can always follow us on Twitter at SPR Filmcast. Any ratings, reviews on whichever platform you caught us on always helps us out. If you found us on YouTube, obviously liking and subscribing to the channel is a huge help and helps the channel grow. Let's see. Obviously, we open the show with a Q&A section. If you have a question or prompt you would like discussed by Ron and myself, you can always drop us a comment.
To deglove for you.
We'll do it.
Today's episode brought to you by the word deglove.
If you have a comment or prompt question that you would like Ron and I to discuss at the beginning of the next show, you can always drop it in the YouTube comment section or email us at screenplayrewind@gmail.com. And Ron, the last plug is where can people find you when you're not talking about degloving on Screenplay Rewind.
If you would like to deglove my content, Jesus Christ, that word. I hate you for putting that back in my memory.
So many implications in one word.
You can find me at RonSense TV over on all the things. I'm on Twitch, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitter, I'm live streaming on Twitch. I have original content as well as my VODs from Twitch up on my YouTube. I'm approaching 1,000 videos on YouTube.
Damn.
Yeah. I'm tired.
We're all very tired and nobody trusts each other anymore.
Yeah, I'm a variety streamer. I'm a variety player, so there's probably something to watch. The quote was on Reddit. God bless you, Reddit. Also, fuck you, Reddit. Depends on which subreddit you're in. From Betafish2345, real alpha energy there. Loved that 1-star review from someone complaining that no one in the movie once said it's daylight savings time. That's so fucking good.
That is the best joke I've ever heard in the history of Bad Guy.
Oh god, it's so good.
So good. It's so good and so fucking obvious. I'm now mad at myself for not having thought of it originally.
I can just see Chris Evans saying it's daylight savings time. Oh god.
Oh, we didn't mention it. The way that Chris Evans dies in this is devastating to watch.
Well, same with Benedict Wong.
Oh yeah, man, it's rough. Also, Michelle Yeoh as well. How heartbreaking is it that she finds that one little plant left over and then she gets killed by Pinbacker is so heartbreaking.
The most Dark Souls thing that happens in this is finding a dead body holding a brand new living plant, like brand new life on a corpse.
That is Bloodborne as fuck.
That is Bloodborne as fuck.
But just further proof that Chris Evans is the fucking
also,
MVP
Mark
of the
Strong
movie.
got twin humanity for killing her.
Yes, he did. Soul of a brave warrior.
Soul of a brave warrior.
Dude, Chris Evans, though, his acting when he is having the radio chat with Kappa, when he is having to talk like
he's killing himself doing this.
Dude, the way he talks, the way he makes his voice quiver is so fucking good because he is going down into this fucking crazy you will have hypothermia in 10 seconds level water, and he has to do it 3 different times to get the ship back online.
It's the coolant for the Icarus AI.
Yeah, he has to do it to get the ship back online. He has to go into this coolant 3 different times to get all the individual rod things back into the water. And the very last one, his leg gets caught, and he just
was
fucking
done.
freezes
he was
to
trying
death.
to get out.
He was trying to get out,
and he just didn't have the strength.
He probably
to do
would.
it.
He probably would have died anyway of hypothermia. But his leg gets caught in the rod thing as it's going down into the coolant, and it sliced. I think he dies from blood loss in addition to just the crazy cold weather because there's so much blood in the water and the coolant.
Your blood distributes your heat, right? So it's a 1-2 punch on the hypothermia.
Oh yeah, for sure. But man, his acting in that line when his voice is shaky and he's just fucking freezing to death. He's so fucking good in that scene. That scene is so devastating because I love Mason in this movie. So I'm he's the fucking goat of the movie for me. And that's and that was what's crazy is the D-Glove scene happened, but it was Chris because of the context and because of how much I like Chris Evans and that character. It was the Chris Evans death that was the scene that most stuck in my mind over the last 17 years since I watched it.
You know those gloves that go all the way up to your shoulder, from your fingertip all the way up to your shoulder, that use them birthing a cow? If you haven't seen this movie, imagine wearing one of those and holding your arm out and someone just pulling that off of you, but that's your skin, not a glove. Oh.
Yeah. It's not a good time for the people that do it too far strong either. Everyone is disturbed when it happens, which is pretty funny.
Here's this one. Trey is dead. There's only 4 crew members. 4 crew. Mace, Cassie, Corazon, and me. 5 crew members. Icarus. Who's the 5th crew member? Unknown. Where's the 5th crew member? In the observation room. Those 2 lines are the most terrifying thing in this movie. Who is the 5th crew member? Unknown. Where is the 5th crew member? In the observation room. I don't know who he is, but I can tell you where he is.
So good.
That's the most terrifying thing I've ever heard uttered in a movie, I think, is those 2 lines.
Yeah. We didn't talk about it either, but it's also really hard, just real quick, because I want to go ahead and not make this podcast 2.5 hours long, but it's really devastating too, what happens, the way that Benedict Wong fucks up.
Oh my god!
By he he is so focused on getting his calculations for their course correct to where they're going to the Icarus 1 instead of to the sun for the payload delivery, that he forgot to realign the shields for like the angle that they would be changing to, and it gets the ship fucked up, and then immediately gets the captain killed, and immediately turns into a suicide mission.
Yeah.
So they have to sedate him because he's on suicide watch, and it's really hard to watch him in those scenes. And it's also hard too because there's a moment where they think they're all going to be okay because, you know, like they've gotten the panels in place, and Chris Evans like walks over to him and he's like, "Hey man, we got you. It's going to be okay." And that's immediately when the shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
And Benedict Wong can only watch as the captain is killed, and it becomes a suicide mission instantly because of his fuck up. And man, is that like devastating, because that could totally happen. You know, it's like it's a human mistake. Like he's so focused on the one thing being correct that he just had a complete oversight and got them all killed.
And
you know, it's
another
devastating.
instance of why didn't the AI help? He had to override it to change course because the ship is made for one purpose, and therefore the AI has one purpose, and it didn't warn him because, of course, it didn't. He overrode it. It probably would have warned him to do that, but he had to override it, so it's not involved in what's happening.
Yeah.
So,
it's fucking heartbreaking.
It's an AI, but it's not a super intelligent being. You know, it's not an artificial being. It's an AI. It's a hyper advanced AI. So yeah.
Yep. The
AI just being a fucking computer in this is one of the most beautiful things in the movie.
Yeah, because I mean, it's such a trope too of like the AI being in on it that it's cool that the AI is just AI. You know,
Right.
it is there in the context of how it should be in the story, and I appreciate that about
it.
it.
And to commit plagiarism.
And to commit to do that. Yeah, I think that's gonna be a wrap. I think we kind of covered everything that I had. Did you have any other final thoughts before we sign off officially?
Nope. Scrolling back through my notes, we more or less pretty much hit everything.
I think so too. What a fucking great movie. I watched this, and even like knowing the context of what happens with the third act, it is so fucking compelling that it's like The Martian for me, where even though I know like what happens, I get sucked into like the kind of drama of it. And there's just something, dude, if you have a movie that is about astronauts having to problem solve in a sci-fi situation, I'm just like, I'm there. I'm just immediately enraptured by it. Man, it's a hell of a fucking movie. Ron, what are we covering next time?
We are covering a movie that came out shortly after this one. We're keeping the sci-fi trend going here. 2009's Pandorum.
Pandora. What is Pandorum? I don't remember.
Two crew members wake up on an abandoned spacecraft with no idea who they are, how long they've been asleep, or what their mission is. The two soon discover they're actually not alone, and the reality of the situation is more horrifying than they could have imagined.
Pandorum.
Yeah. Dennis Quaid and Angel.
I remember this coming out, but I don't think I haven't seen this.
Oh, you didn't see it?
I didn't see this.
Yeah, this has some Dead Space parallels we'll talk about.
See, you had my curiosity, but now you have my attention, man.
We got Norman Reedus in it. We got Dennis Quaid, Ben Foster is who I was trying to think of with the Angel. He's staring right at me right here on the Just Watch page. So couldn't miss him. But yeah, I am showing that it is available for streaming on Hoopla, Tubi, Prime Video, Freevee, and Prime Video with ads. It's also rentable in the usual places: Amazon, Apple TV, Microsoft. Microsoft? That's not a usual place. You can rent shit on Microsoft?
Yeah, in the Microsoft store. I remembered it being a thing, but I don't think I've ever done it. I also like how, in an effort to make their stupid streaming services have a like memorable name, how fucking stupid almost all of those streaming services names are that you just listed off.
Tubi,
my fucking brain glossed over too. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I can't join you there on Hoopla. I have too much respect for them. I have a library card, a digital library card, and that's where I get like all my comic books for free and shit.
Oh, it's a great service. Stupid fucking name. Terrible terrible name.
Yeah. So unfortunately, it's not an HD on Hoopla though. I bet it is. It's probably they probably just don't have that metadata. I don't
Yeah,
know how it couldn't be. It's
cool.
2009.
Yeah, I remember this being a movie that I caught like trailers for, and it seemed up my alley, and I like made the mental note to check it out, and then it just never got like I just never got around
I
to
think
it.
you'll like it. This is probably the movie I was thinking of because it has a 28 critic score on Metacritic and a 7.5 out of 10 on user score. So this is a movie
Interesting.
that critics and audiences disagree on.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, it's we'll have to kind of see what I think of it because it's weird. I end up kind of like falling like smack dab in the middle of kind of like consensus audience score versus like critical score. So I kind of see like where I fall out. But I'm curious. I like the cast, so
Yeah,
we'll check it out.
It's pretty good. I lost my page I had open for it. Oh, here it is. I'm not familiar with these names. Travis Malloy and Christian Alvart are the writers, and Christian Alvart also directed.
Okay.
It's from the producers of Resident Evil, though, if that helps.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll check that out, and be sure to watch that and follow along in a couple weeks when we cover it next. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a wrap. I'm pretty hungry. I think I need to go like deglove a peanut butter sandwich or something. What do you think? You gonna join me in that? Have a good night, everybody. I was gonna squeeze that in one more time before we sign.
That's what she said.